Okay. My ears are stopped up this morning, so yell at me. Even with my hearing aids, kind of like everything vibrates. All right, somebody read 10 and 11. 10, 11, and 12.
Sing to the Lord a new song, his praise from the ends of the earth. You who go down to the sea and all that is in it, you islands and all you who live in them. Let the wilderness and its towns raise their voices. Let the settlements where Kedar lives rejoice. Let the people of Salah sing for joy. Let them shout from the mountaintops. Let them give glory to the Lord and proclaim his praise in the islands.
Okay. Who are these people? Last week we talked about the characteristic of Jesus. Now, he's going to come back. And what class of people does he deal with first? Who's he talking about here? Let me tell you. Believers. Starts out talking with believers, and they are going to praise him. And look at who all the believers are. They're the people on the coasts, people at sea, people in the islands, people in the plains, people in the desert, people in the mountains. So who's left out?
Cities. Cities.
Say again?
Cities. People in the cities.
Well, they're in the plains.
Unbelievers.
Unbelievable.
Non-believers.
We're going to get to them in a minute. Well, yeah, that's a good point. The unbelievers are left out because he deals with them in 13 through 15. But when he comes back, he's going to be the king of the whole earth. Going to be the king of everybody. I mean, where else could somebody be beside the places that are mentioned here? He's coming back to be everybody's king. You know, now we have administrators and politicians and governments and whatever, and they pretty much exist for himself. The praise that's going to come from these people is going to be a roar on the face of the earth. And why wouldn't it be? What has just finished happening before he comes back the second time? The greatest persecution of his people of all time, the 7 years of tribulation. And when he steps out on that cloud, and when that trumpet blows, and we rise up to be with him, there is going to be a roar of praise. There's going to be, and you're going to be part of it. It's coming. Yes, it is. Okay? Just think. No more hunger, no more pain, no more sickness. Nobody's going to cheat you. The trees are going to bear fruit every 30 days. There's going to be no more problems on earth. Because Satan's going to be in the pit, Revelation chapter 19, and we're going to be with Christ for 1,000 years. And during that 1,000 years, it's going to be a time of peace. Now, when that trumpet blows and he steps out and we all rise to be with him on the cloud, that's one of the T's. Thessalonians. That's in Thessalonians. That's in Thessalonians. So, when that trumpet blows and we rise up, there's going to be a shout. Now, not everybody's going to rise up and be on that cloud. Like Mason said, the unbelievers are going to be dealt with next because they're going to be standing on earth looking up. And what do you think their attitude's going to be? Somebody read 13 through 15.
The Lord advances like a warrior. He stirs up his zeal like a soldier. He shouts, he roars aloud, he prevails over his enemies. I have kept silent from ages past. I have been quiet and restrained myself. But now I will groan like a woman in labor, gasping breathlessly. I will lay waste to the mountains and the hills and dry up all their vegetation. I will turn rivers into islands and dry up marshes.
Okay. The unbelievers are gonna be left standing on earth. Remember when we went through Revelation and they pour out one of the bowls and it would be proclaimed that it was from God? And remember the response of the unbelievers? Said, "Oh, forgive me, I see the light now. Let me get on the train." Right? That's what they said, right?
Nope.
No, it isn't. They beat their chest and they said, "I'd rather the mountains covered me up. I'd rather the mountains fell on me." They were jealous and they were angry and they were upset because when Jesus Christ comes back, all authority is going to be his. Why do you think most people are in Washington? Or Paris? Or any capital city where there's a government head? Why do you think they're really there? Because, so they can serve the people, right? So they can make sure that I'm okay. We just gave $113 million to Ukraine and told the East Palestine in Ohio that they weren't eligible for any FEMA funds. How does that work? How do you even get elected being that stupid?
Chief, you lie. You lie until you're there.
No, we have discernment. We should be able to discern the lies. And these people have been in there for 50 years. You think they just started lying last week? Or last election? Yeah. And we keep sending them back. They ought to be stoned. No, don't tell them. Right. Their instant reaction is they're going to be jealous. And why? Because they want to be God. They want to lord over me. They want to tell me how much Social Security I'm going to get or not going to get. They want to be the power. And they want us to be submissive. Am I wrong?
So they're not jealous of us because he loves us and because we're his children and that he loves us and he's gonna take care of us. He's jealous of him because he's in control and they're not.
Yep. You're gonna be jealous, you're right. They're gonna be jealous of us because we're gonna be standing on the cloud and all of a sudden it's gonna hit them. I wonder if all that was right. And the second thing is, they're gonna be jealous of him because he's gonna take their job. Why did they crucify Jesus?
Because they thought they were going to lose their power.
Huh?
They thought they were going to lose their power, their control over.
Same reason, yep,
Yeah.
exactly right. They had control, they had power, they were the government, and he was gonna come back and be king. Well, he's gonna come back and be king, and the next time, he's the Messiah's response, he's gonna prevail. You know, the last time he was the submissive lamb. This time he's the king on the horse. And he comes back on a white horse. What's that mean?
Purity?
Hmm?
Purity, Savior?
It means, the white means that, yeah. But when the king comes riding into town on a white horse,
Victory.
victory. When he comes riding in on a gray horse, there's gonna be a fight. When he comes riding in on a white horse, he's won the battle. And this time he's gonna step out on that cloud on a white horse and he's gonna win the battle. What if he comes riding in on a donkey?
Peace? Is it peace or
In the old days,
Um,
he's surrendering.
surrendering?
He's surrendering. You don't fight on a donkey. You don't go into battle on a donkey. You're gonna get smashed. If the battle's over and the king comes riding into the enemy's camp on a donkey, What he's saying is, I surrender. Don't kill any more of my people. We'll do whatever we need to do. You can be the king. We'll serve you. All right, you're going to prevail. He's not going to be silent anymore. Remember when he stood before Pilate and the Pilate says, aren't you going to defend yourself? What he said? I don't have to defend myself. And he said he spoke not a word. He spoke not a word. You know, the only time I have to defend myself, only time I have to defend myself in a legal situation is if there's evidence against me. Okay? Technically, if they don't have any evidence against me, they can't find me guilty and they can't throw me in jail. Now, that's the way it's supposed to work. Now, Jesus stood there and he, you know, remember when he looked at the lady who was caught in adultery? And he said to her, where are those that accuse you? And what she said, there's nobody here to accuse me. And what he said, neither do I accuse you. But he did let her off the hook. What did he say then?
Go and sin no more.
Go and sin no more. Okay? When he was dealing with people back then, and when he's dealing with people today, it's with grace and it's with forgiveness and it's with patience. When he gets done with the 7 years of tribulation and 2,000 years of people on earth ignoring the age of grace, and 2,000 years prior to that of Israel being a bunch of knotheads and idiots, and then prior to that, he had to bring on the flood because the earth was being totally destroyed by a bunch of numbskulls. And the older they got, the more evil they got. This time it's over. If you hear that trumpet and you're not standing on a cloud, I'm sorry for you. But all of us are. Right, Bonnie?
Yep, amen. Try not to be late either.
Just checking. He's not gonna be silent anymore. That trumpet's gonna blow. And you know, I think there's gonna be very few words coming off that cloud. I think he's gonna look down on the valley of Armageddon, and I think he's gonna say some very familiar words. 3 of them. It is
done.
finished. And Jesus Christ will then be Lord. Okay. Not going to be silent anymore. Judgment's going to be immediate. Let's look at the patience of Christ, of God for a minute. There was a time up to 1500, the first 1500 years of creation, and then the flood. He was patient for 1500 years. And then there was 4500 BC up to 0. So there's 4500 years there that he was patient with Israel. Then 70 AD comes along and he says that's enough. He turns them over to Rome and they scatter them clear out the entire earth. They don't go back home until 1946. Okay? And then from 1946 until the beginning of the 7 years, he's been patient. Have they been loyal? No, in the middle of the tribulation, he has to go out and look for 144,000 Jews to initiate a revival on earth. Of all the millions of Jews on earth, he's going to find 144,000. That's kind of scary. How could you be a Jew, know the entire history of your nation, and not have some respect for God. But then I know a lot of Christians that don't have any better credentials than the Jews did. Creation will respond. Rain will no longer fall on the just and unjust. You know, Jesus said, you know, it's a time for patience. It's the time for tolerance. The rain will fall on the just and the unjust. Well, if you go back and read through there, the unbelievers are not going to get rain. The rivers are going to dry up. And it's talking about the last 45 days. The first 45 days, the seals are open. It's a warning. The first 3.5 years, the seals are opened and it's a warning. The second 3.5 years, the trumpets are blown and it's a warning. The last 45 days, the bowls of wrath are poured out, and this is what that's talking about. It's going to be famine, there's going to be disease, there's going to be, and it says in Revelation at one point, he said, men would cry out to die, and he's not going to let them. I think that's where they got the idea for The Walking Dead. No, I'm serious. Satan trivializes everything. How's Satan going to explain the second coming and all the believers rising up and being on a cloud? How's he going to do that? Guys watch Star Trek?
Yes.
Huh?
Star Trek? Yes. Am I the only one? I'm the only one. Me, yes.
What pieces of it?
You know, the headlines on the New York Times is going to be, they were beamed up.
Yeah, Scotty, yeah.
The aliens are here. What about all this talk about aliens? Why is it suddenly in the news all the time?
Distraction.
Because Satan is going to have to explain, when that trumpet blows, he's going to have to explain what happened. And he's going to have an explanation for it. And we have been programmed to accept the excuse that the aliens got here and they beamed them up. It goes all the way back to when I was in my 20s or 30s, and you guys weren't even around. There was a series called X. And it came down and they wanted to help mankind, and then people started disappearing, and they were taking them back to their planet and turning them into food. You know, we were their herd. Okay? You guys never saw that, right?
Nope.
I think I-
You're old enough. Never.
Was it a... Ronnie, you're old enough.
There was a series, I think it was like 7 weeks, a 7-week series, 2 hours each segment was on. And they explained it, that the aliens had come and they were secretly putting us on the spaceships, and they were, well, it was long before that even, because back in, what was that science fiction thing before Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
Twilight. You ever watch the reruns of Twilight?
Yes.
Well, there's one where the aliens come down and they were going to be friendly and they were going to help us.
How to Serve Man.
Huh?
How to Serve Man. That was the name of that episode, How to Serve Man. Because it was...
How to Serve Man.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this guy is going back, and he's going to be educated. He's going to come back, and this woman is trying to decode this book, and so the spaceship's lifting off, and she gets on the radio and says, "Get off! Get off! Get off!" And he says, "No, I'm going back." He said, "It's not an instruction book; it's a cookbook." How to serve man. Okay. And we have been programmed to believe that the aliens are going to come and we're going to be beamed up, and Jesus said in the 24th chapter of Matthew, even the very elite are going to be deceived. Even the very elite. Now, really consider myself the very elite, so it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary how easily people buy into some stuff. But then judgment is going to be immediate, and it's going to take 45 days. The bowls of wrath, according to Daniel, are going to take 45 days. 3.5, 45. Right? Verse 16.
I will lead the blind by way they have not known. Along unfamiliar paths I will guide them. I will turn the darkness into light before them and make a rough place smooth. These are the things I will do. I will not forsake them.
Okay. There's not going to be any illness. Not going to be any blind anymore. There's not going to be any death. When Jesus Christ comes back, there's going to be a great healing on this earth. It's going to be like we were back in the garden and everything's behaving itself. 17.
They will be turned back and utterly ashamed, those who trust in idols and say to metal-plated images, "You are our gods."
Anybody who trusted in idols, anybody who puts their trust in the Antichrist, anybody who put their trust in the mark of the beast or any of that stuff, they're going to be put to shame. They're going to be put. What, when it comes to shame, what's your greatest fear? What do you don't want somebody to find out about you? I'm not sure you want to share it. And I'm not asking you to, but think about that for a minute. None of it is perfect, right? Neither am I. Neither am I. But what do you think would embarrass you the most if all of a sudden we found out? You might not know it, but sometimes I make wine.
We've heard that.
Huh?
I've heard that. Rumors, you know.
And I know all the verses that says I can. Okay. But don't we all have something that we kind of keep to ourselves and don't really want to share with the world? You know, it's one thing to share it with a Christian brother or sister and say, look, I'm struggling in this area. Can you pray with me and can you lift me up every day so that I can be strengthened and have victory over this temptation? But you don't want to go out into the world and tell them that. They're going to eat you alive. And the way the church works sometimes, we tend to be hesitant to share it with even the church. You know, when I was looking at this and thinking about it, I thought about the 5 people that I've had in my life over the 76 years who have been the meanest to me. And they all call themselves Christians.
Janice.
You might be okay. I mean, think about that for a minute. Think about the person that was the meanest to you. Did he go to church? Did he have a Bible in his hand sometimes when you saw him? Did he say all the right things when he was in church? Did he put on a good show? And he turned out to be the meanest person in your life? You know, the church has kind of ruined the fellowship. Because I ought to be able to go to you guys and say, I need your help, and I ought to be confident that you're not going to share it with the world. And you ought to have that confidence with me too. And somewhere the church went astray. I think they're called wolves in sheep's clothing, but that's another lesson. Israel's response, 18 through 25.
Hear you deaf, look you blind, and see. Who is blind but my servant, and deaf like the messenger I send? Who is blind like the one in covenant with me? Blind like the servant of the Lord. How far?
All of it,
All-
to 25.
25. You have seen many things, but you pay no attention. Your ears are open, but you do not listen. It pleased the Lord for the sake of his righteousness to make his law great and glorious. But this is a people plundered and looted, all of them trapped in pits or hidden away in prisons. They have become plunder with no one to rescue them. They have been made loot with no one to say, send them back. Which of you will listen to this and pay close attention in the time to come? Who handed Jacob over to become loot, and Israel to the plunders? Was it not the Lord against whom we have sinned? For they would not follow his ways. They did not obey his laws. So he poured out on them his burning anger, the violence of war. It enveloped them in flames, yet they did not understand. It consumed them, but they did not take it to heart.
Okay. What more could God have done for Israel to have made them loyal to him? What more could he have done?
Take away their will. That would be the only thing. As much as he gave them, as much as he, took care of them, they turned on him like on a dime. I mean, they just turned and forsake him, and it.
Yep. At every turn. And then he brings us back in 1946. After 2,000 years, 1900 and some years. And they should have learned their lesson. And what would you characterize religiously, what would you characterize the people of Israel today?
Lukewarm. Lukewarm. Lukewarm.
Lukewarm? Okay, that's good. You know what Gnostics are? They're kind of the Gnostic thing. They've got this religious thing going on, but when they're not in the temple or when they're not in church, they're just like everybody else. Remember when the demons went out of that guy and that legion of demons went out of the guy and he went into the pigs and the pigs all committed suicide and jumped off the cliff? Number one, pigs are smarter than human beings. They won't live with demons. Number two, what was number two? He drove those demons out and they went to the pigs. Sorry, I lost it. But the bottom of them, where were we when we were talking about the Jews in there. They saw all the things that Jesus did. They saw all the healing. They saw all the deliverances. They saw everything about him, and they would not accept him. They're traditionalists. They would rather worship Abraham than worship Jesus. They would rather worship Jacob than to worship Jesus.
And that's just because of their pride? That's just because of their pride?
Well, you see, Abraham's safe. He's dead. He can't take any of my power away from me. But Jesus, he's still alive.
Well, they can also, I mean, even though Abraham's words are written down, he wasn't there to confront them. Jesus was. Jesus was there telling them what was wrong, and they, they can interpret words to the way they want. If I'm in front of you, you can't interpret my words if I'm telling you what it is. So Jesus is telling them how it is. If I writ something down and gave it to somebody, they can twist it, turn it, and to their own will.
Do you know what they did to the book of Daniel?
They glued it together
They glued it together so it couldn't be read. Do you know why?
because it told the truth
Truth about what?
about Jesus.
It told them at almost the day that Jesus would be here. He said, go to the signing of the proclamation to rebuild the temple and add 483 years to it. And there will be the Messiah. And if you go find that proclamation date on an ancient calendar and add 483 years to it, you'll be looking Jesus in the eye in Bethlehem. We got to go. And this was all written in Isaiah.